But yeah, man, are you excited?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Should be fun. So
Never done anything like it.
Yeah, we're live now. So everybody, welcome to the first videoed episode of the Shop and Chivalry Podcast. I've got Steven. Steven, I don't want to butcher your last name. So I keep
Wouldn't
for
be
some
the first
reason,
time.
right? Fair enough. I keep for some reason putting an N in there, but there's no N.
Nope.
Well, at the end. But so, how do you pronounce your last name?
Cosentini.
Cousin.
So it's
I
like
would not have
I
got
always
that.
tell everybody, your cousin, then Teeny. So Cosentini.
Cosentini.
Everyone was
Okay.
like Cosentini, Constantini, adding things and taking things away, but whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. So Steven, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Where are you from?
I'm originally from New Jersey. Grew up in North Jersey.
Okay.
I would say 20 minutes from like Manhattan, like area. So
Nice.
Not far from New York and stuff.
And so that forced you to be a Yankees fan?
Yeah, for sure. Most of my family, growing up, I think my mom's side were mainly Mets fans, and then
Okay.
my side was all Yankee fans, and whatever, we had that. But yeah, I grew up going to a lot of Yankee games actually, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And what else? After high school, did a couple years at like community college back there, and then wasn't working, so joined the military, and
Okay. And
took me everywhere. But
what branch?
Air Force.
Okay.
I was in the Air Force.
And what'd you do in the Air Force?
Initially, I went in to be a linguist.
Interesting. Yeah.
Chinese. I
Why?
did that. I don't know. I think it was like a recruiter got me out a little bit. Like, I don't know. Recruiters are always pushing jobs and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
for
But,
sure. They've got quotas.
Yeah. And I really thought I wanted to do physical therapy,
Okay.
but I didn't want to spend any more money on school. So I said, oh, the military I can do that in the Air Force.
Sure.
But obviously the job wasn't available, and they're like, well, you did good enough in the ASVAB. Do you want to go be a linguist? And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're going to teach me to learn a language that I would have never done otherwise. So,
Yeah.
And then I picked Chinese just, I guess, as a challenge. And then went to basic. And then they sent me out to Monterey, California. I was there for like 2 years doing that.
It's a beautiful area out there.
Man, I would do it
amazing.
all over again, man.
Yeah.
It was a cool spot. Not far from, San Jose, San Francisco. Like,
Yeah.
We did that on weekends all the time. And
Yeah, I was at Travis for
Yeah.
like 5 years. So yeah, we
Yeah.
spent some time down there.
For sure. So yeah, I did that for a couple years, and then inevitably failed out.
Well, it's tough.
Yeah,
You know,
it
it's tough in any language, and
Yeah.
then you pick arguably the hardest one.
Yeah.
Maybe aside from Farsi.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that, and then they allowed me to retrain, and at that time I requested physical therapy because I still wanted to do that.
Sure.
And it was available, so it just worked out that way.
Okay.
So I got basically a good 2-year vacation in Monterey. That was good. And then sent me to Wichita Falls, Texas. I was in Shepherd, middle of nowhere, nothing.
Yeah, that was
At
my
the
first
time-
tech school.
Yeah. There's all the medical stuff is, right? Like,
So they moved, I think, medical
now it's a
to
Fort Sam Houston now, but
Oh, is it? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think at one point it was like, I forget the chronology, but at one point it was primarily at Lackland, another time it was primarily at Shepherd, but I think it was Shepherd first, and then it went to Lackland, and then maybe now it's
and
at,
I think Lackland was a little transition because they were trying to, I don't know for sure, but Fort Sam Houston was where I know like the 4Ns, like the med techs and all those guys were going. But that was after obviously I did all that, and then from there I went 4-month tech school there, and then I got stationed at Keesler. So
Okay.
I was there for 4 years, and that's where I did physical therapy for a while, a little bit of occupational therapy. We were kind of interchangeable there, and then I became friends with a lot of air traffic controllers. And
How is that?
so
I know there's a,
to back up to basic training,
Yeah.
I had a buddy that was, my guy that I met in basic training who was from Gaucher, and he was going to be an air traffic controller, and we kept in touch. He ended up getting out early, came back to Gaucher. I got stationed at Keesler. We hooked up back, and that's how I met a lot of people outside the Air Force in the area.
Yeah.
Through him and.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show started. As it turns out, a lot of the people that you know is my like kind of close circle that I had back in high school. Which, never mind. Go ahead.
So, and then I ended up moving in with him in Gaucher and all that stuff, and basically a roommate. And he was an air traffic controller the whole time. He was doing contract work, waiting on the FAA. So I kind of learned that process a little bit. And then I went to ALS at Keesler and became really good friends with another instructor at Keesler. That was air traffic control instructor. And then it was time for either re-enlistment or get out or cross-train or do whatever because my enlistment was up. And I was like, I'm just going to try to cross-train into air traffic because it seemed like a cool thing to do. And,
And how many years in are you at this point?
I guess almost 6.
Okay.
My retrain probably started a little over 5 years in. So
okay.
And then
so you were probably aware of the rule, right? You were probably 6-year enlistee, aware of the 13-month, and you probably wanted to just get out of that and go because that's how I was when I got out of aircraft maintenance. It was the day of at 8:00 Eastern that I requested a retrain.
Yeah. I forgot. It's been so long. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There is that cutoff, that time frame. You have to do it. Because I was also trying to base a preference with it.
Yeah. So this is all first-term airman stuff. Yeah.
So I was trying to get back home. Really, like I was like, oh, I'll do it if they send me. And then the list that they gave me, or actually, I knew I was going. I knew I was going to Nellis.
Okay.
Before I even started school. Before I even started air traffic.
I think I had a similar situation. And I think that's a first-term airman thing.
Yeah. They assign you your
because you do a BOP in conjunction with the retrain, which I think has to be done within 5 days of. I'm a regs guy. I think within within 5 days of the approval. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, I think they gave me a list, and then I chose, and I chose my list, and there was like 5 places on there, and I don't even remember the other ones. But I know Vegas. I didn't put first, but I wasn't upset if I got Vegas.
Yeah,
and
it's a good Vegas. First base for ATC.
For ATC, yeah, for sure. And I was gambling at the time. I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Like whatever. But
by the way, gambling. People use gambling, I think, in an incorrect way. Gambling is what you do when you think you have a chance of winning.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, I've never gambled in my life. I've just donated a lot of money.
I mean, when you're young, when I'm early 20s, and I'm here, and I find the bow, the hard rock, and all that stuff when I first get here, and it's initially you're like, I can beat this place, like whatever. Like this is easy.
Man, I love this confidence about you, man. You got moxie.
So you lose it all, and you're like, crap. And then they reel you back in, and you win a little bit, and you're like, this is easy again. But anyway, and then when I got Vegas, people were like, oh, you're gonna. I was like, the difference between having like 5 casinos here to gamble and like 25 there is there's no difference. Like it's available here, it's available there. Like, the fact that it's more available there didn't matter. Like if I was gonna do it, I was gonna do it. Like
my favorite place to go, and I think it used to be. It was on the New Strip. I want to say maybe it was an Irish pub. I want to say it was McGuire's. Yeah. So now I think it's kind of tucked away, but it was in the front. They would always have a little person there that was in a leprechaun outfit, like trying to draw people in. But it was just the most. I don't know, like non-New Strip casino there, and it was like $1 Michelob Ultras, it was $1 blackjack, $1 craps. I mean, it was. And by the way, they had beer pong there, so you could play beer pong. It was
There's a lot of that now. I feel like. I mean, they're trying to.
Well, on Fremont Street especially,
downtown, like the old Las Vegas, they put a lot of money into there, and they're trying to do stuff like that.
Oh, it's so much fun, man. I think I love Fremont more than I love being on the New Strip. Well, and mostly because like it's a little more covert that they're trying to get all your money from you.
Well, that, and they're not charging you $6 for an Ultra. When you're going everywhere down, like when you're in the middle of the Strip.
So I did the Joint Fires course out there, which was really neat, and we stayed in the Luxor, which is my favorite casino, but it's partly because it's kind of a representation of like mythology. It dates. It's got the whole. Like the inside is all like kind of a what would you say, like a tribute to like Egyptian stuff, and I'm really into mythology, but anyway, it was right next to, oh man, I'm forgetting it, the Excalibur, and it had a walk over there, and you could have dinner for like $15, and it was free beers, with it. And in the morning it was like bottomless mimosas as well within that $50. So we ate there like 2-3 times a day. That's where most of our per diem went. But yeah, it was great, man. I've flown through Vegas probably 4 or 5 times because when I flew on the C-17s, we would go and pick up the Thunderbirds, all those divas, and we'd take them out to whatever air show. So we got to spend a lot of time out there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked the Thunderbirds a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got a lot there. You got aggressors out there, and then you got the racetrack, I think, to the northwest.
Northwest, yep.
And then they've got helicopter traffic there, and then you've got, obviously
North Las Vegas.
Las Vegas traffic. Oh, that's
North
right.
Las Vegas Towers there, which is one of the busier VFR towers in the country.
And then the RAPCON there, the radar approach control facility,
is what I worked.
Oh, you did?
I never worked tower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking you were a tower guy. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So you had to work the blocked out area up there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The ranges up there, and
Did you know Michael Merritt?
Michael
Merritt.
I don't think so.
Okay, he might have gotten there after you. He was the chief controller. Now I think he's the functional for ACC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
That doesn't sound familiar. Yeah, and if he was at the tower, I don't know.
Well, he was the RAPCON chief controller.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he was there when I took the Joint Fires course, and I got a tour of the facility and whatnot, and so yeah. And
so you saw the NATSF and all that?
Oh yeah.
Blackjack was in. Did they show you Blackjack and all that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, man. Really, really cool stuff. So that was your first facility within ATC. Okay.
Yeah, which I struggled. Like it wasn't easy. Like.
Well, there's no reason why it should be.
Yeah, I mean, more than half the people washed out of that place. Some of that was just complexity and volume. Some of it was the actual training program, probably. It was tough.
I'm sure you can't point to any one thing.
No, for sure,
something like that,
for sure.
So.
And it has to do with young kids like they're sending 19-year-olds or even 21-year-olds to Vegas, and they're supposed to be concentrating on training. Like. If I wasn't married to Bianca and had responsibility at home, I don't know. Like I would have been harder.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm an instructor now, so I teach ATC, right? So I'm getting.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
A couple months ago. Yeah, I got tired of the bank. It's amazing.
GS over there.
Yep.
Ah, cool.
Yeah,
man.
so it's amazing to me how people talk to you when you manage their money. And I just had a really hard time with that,
Oh, for sure.
And it's like I've never been in kind of food service and that sort of thing. But generally, I don't, I'm not going to treat somebody poorly, right?
Yeah.
But they just, man, these people were just rude, and I just kind of got tired of that. So I was like, well, let me get back into industry and see if I can't.
That's cool.
Stay
stay
abreast of that. But yeah, so what's interesting is that you're right. You're absolutely right that what we're asking these young people to do is really quite incredible if you think about it. And I share the same sort of thought process that if it was me and I was 19 years old, would not have gotten through that.
Yeah.
I am too unfocused, at the time, too unfocused, not disciplined.
I was just immature.
For sure. I mean, all of that. Immaturity is probably the umbrella term. Yeah.
Yeah. If I would have gone the way I went through, if I would have done the exact opposite. So if I would have went ATC instead of linguist, and then washed out of ATC, and then somehow got picked up on linguist, I would have probably succeeded at linguist.
Yeah.
Just because of the age and the maturity that happened between 19 and 23.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not that I was mature at 23, but it was more than 19. And
we had some life experience. I mean, because what we're asking them to do is not just learn this job that's incredibly difficult. That there's no. I tell the students, like, I just graduated or moved them out of a block, and they had like a 93% average, right, in within that block, which normally it's about 85, 88, and they were really bright, but your boy's going to take some credit for that, right? But so I told him, I was like, there is no reason to assume that just because you did well in this block, you're going to do well in the next block. There's no reason to assume that if you do good in the tower practical, you're going to do good in the radar practical. You have zero evidence. There's nothing you've done in your life that compares to what you're doing here. Now, as a mechanic, it'd be different, right? But with air traffic control, it's a really enigmatic job. So,
when you talk about tower versus radar, and then you can even break down radar from terminal to en route.
Yeah.
And which I'm not sure if a lot of people are going to know.
Well,
we'll
talk about it, and then as we get into it, where I think we need to break it down, we can
explain a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, those are all fall under air traffic control, but those are 3 different jobs.
Very different.
Plenty of people that go radar and can't do tower can't do radar,
100%,
and then who do radar for 15 years and then go en route, the terminal, and then go en route, and they can't do it. Or vice versa. Like, it's people assume you've been certified air traffic controller for 10 years, and why can't you do this? And like, because this is different.
It's just different. Yeah,
it's crazy how different within ATC it could be. But
when my first facility was a radar facility, and I did all right. I got through it. Obviously you get better as time goes by, but even just doing radar versus non-radar, like the 2 concepts that were difficult for me to understand was special VFR and then non-radar operations, right? And so the first time we went non-radar in a sim, you're working it and then goes off. And Trina's like, what do you do? And I was like, I have no idea, nothing. And so that was like my first unsat that I got there, but I tend to pour myself into things I don't do well. Like I saturate myself. And so that same day I ran 7 sims, and it was this idea, I've got this idea about growth, and growth is not making the same mistake twice. That's what growth is. So I wanted to just saturate myself in that which I wasn't good at in order to become good at it,
Which is, if most people don't do that, and that holds them back on
exactly.
everything, right? So.
Well, I told this same class, I give this little speech after they leave my block, and I say, you're going to be challenged in ways that you've never been challenged before, and you're going to do things that you've never done before, so you have to subordinate yourself to this process. And the idea that you can have an opinion on how to train air traffic control better than somebody that has a badge on is nothing more than stupid. I talk very, very direct to them. And I tell them also, 50% of them will wash out of their first base. That's data talking there. And I say, but I've never seen somebody wash out who lacked the cognitive ability to do it. Now, that's my own experience, but they were either uncoachable, they didn't take feedback very well, they would snowball, they couldn't make a mistake and leave that mistake in the past.
Recover.
Exactly. So if you can be that person, subordinate yourself to it, listen, assume that the person that's telling you to do it has done the same thing. If you can do all those things, you're going to get rated. It's really not a question in my mind. What are your thoughts on that?
So I had a buddy that I worked in the Air Force with before air traffic, and he got picked up by the FAA when he got out of the Air Force, no air traffic experience whatsoever, and ended up going en route and whatever. And
so he went to the schoolhouse.
He went to the schoolhouse and got his first assignment and whatever. Really smart guy, like I'm pretty sure he graduated like top 5 out of like 1,000 kids in his senior class and all that stuff, and got a full ride to Arizona State, I think, and then he dropped out and joined the Air Force or something. Anyway, really smart guy, but not that he knew everything, but he didn't like criticism. He didn't like, so all that stuff. And I knew that was going to be a problem going into the FAA, because I helped him with the application process and like all that stuff, just try to get him going. And he hit a wall maybe a couple times in his training when he got to the center that he was at. And then he just gave up. He just didn't, when people who things come easy to them for so long, and this job rarely comes easy. There's only a couple natural people that probably in the OFA that are like, you tell them once and it just happens, and they can recover from mistakes. They can do, like, it's just normal. But this guy, I kind of knew that was a possibility, but I thought he'd be smart enough to just kind of, okay, I need to stay humble and try to figure this out, rather than just be like, this isn't for me. That's it. And he kind of did that, and kind of made me upset. I don't know.
For sure.
It's such a huge opportunity, man.
The money's
when
fantastic.
you go to an en route facility like that, or like your minimum salary is just like,
oh, it's huge.
it's like it's set for the rest of your life, or not. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And not for nothing. It's hard. It's hard work every day and all that. But man, it pissed me off that he just
squandered an opportunity.
And I wasn't there for it all, so it might be more than that. But in my head, knowing him for so long, and then and it's just like, man, I wish he would have reached out to me more. Maybe I could have maybe given just a little, not even air traffic advice, just like head advice, like like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Here, do me a favor.
Yeah, we
can rotate that just kind of up, like push that. There you go. Yeah, just again, we just want to keep it there. That's perfect. So yeah, you know, I think part of the reason it's difficult, and this isn't just ATC related, but when people have to, let's use the example of somebody where things come easy. That's their identity, and so when they encounter something that's difficult to do, well, it shocks their world, right? Mm-hmm. And in order for them to transcend that, part of their identity has to change, which means part of them has to die. So there's this, so there's this sort of resurrection of the self kind of thing that's occurring, and I think that is more powerful than some people are prepared to admit, you know. Mm-hmm. And so for somebody to, again, well, here's a good example. There's a girl who made a statement a couple weeks ago that she didn't think ATC was for her, and my thought was this wasn't somebody that I was training, but I heard about this situation. I thought, like, what in the world makes you think you know?
Mm-hmm. No,
exactly. Like that, like you have no idea what you're capable of, and you don't know. There's plenty of dumb people in ATC that do ATC really well. It's inexplicable. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I say this all the time. I'm like, I've met so many people. There was people at the schoolhouse with me who already had bachelor's degrees or whatever, and had life experience. They were maybe mid-20s now, and this is their first. They just joined the Air Force, and this is their first job in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And they absolutely bomb. Like, they just can't do it. And then I say it all the time, I met people dumb as rocks and kill it first time.
Yeah.
No issues.
Yeah. I wouldn't trust them to buy a gun, but they can do ATC just fine.
Yeah. And it's just because some of ATC is just so basic that it's just like, here's the rule, apply it. That's it. And maybe their mind is a little numb to making that error, so that recovering isn't hard. It's just like, I made an error, I got to keep going. Where other people who might be really smart, they made that error and they just can't let it go because they just keep thinking about it because they want to fix that happened already, but they can't, and then it just snowballs, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the dumb as rocks, and then really smart people, and the dumbest rock people succeed. I don't know.
Yeah, look, there's zero indication of whether or not somebody's going to be good at it. I did so I applied twice for the FAA, and the one I got picked up on was the prior experience bid. But I went ahead and applied for the non-experience bid.
Mm-hmm. I did the same thing.
Have you?
I just applied.
So you remember that test, right? Mm-hmm. Where you had, bro. I was like, how does somebody do well on this?
So I went in there. I was like, I'm never gonna get hired by the FAA. I was like, what was that?
Yeah,
it was really hard because I forget the controls, and you had to like. Yeah. It wasn't normal.
And then you had to do math while separating aircraft. Mm-hmm. And I literally laughed when I did that. And I was like, this is not even applicable. Like, who came up with this?
It's not at all.
You need to be able to do math.
Because when it's not, air traffic control is not a video game to where you're pressing buttons and moving planes.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. You're talking. Like, you're telling people what to do. Issuing traffic and stuff like that. So in that scenario, like, first of all, you didn't issue traffic to anybody, right? So you're not aware of what's going on, because issuing traffic is just as much for you as it is for them, because it reminds you of planes
of the conflict,
crossing and stuff. You know, so in that sim, I was like, afterwards, I was like, man, I should have just been issuing traffic, because I would have had a better idea of what was going on, because otherwise, man, I got in the car after that, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, everything I did at Nellis, like, had nothing to do with that.
Is FAA air traffic control that different?
I was like, this is how they do it? Like, why would they do it like this? Like, yeah. And then whatever. And then you realize that was a test for some reason. I don't know how they can use that.
Yeah, it really kind of sounds like it's a test, like the whole. Have you ever seen The Office? Mm-hmm. Watch The Office. You know, have you seen the one where he's trying to pick his next, like the replacement manager, and they're at like the lake?
I don't know.
It's a series of these really stupid tests, right? Like a hot dog eating contest and whatnot. And that's kind of the way it felt. Like this is just some stupid initiation thing. But I'm sure there's a reason for it.
There's something there.
Yeah.
But maybe not that sim though. That sim, no. Maybe some of the other like memory things.
Yeah. Or the spatial perspective one.
Yeah. Like, I get that. But not that sim. That sim was. I don't think they do it anymore.
It's garbage.
I don't think they do it anymore. I don't know.
Well, I did it like last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I did mine probably like 5-6 years ago, or whatever. Yeah. But no.
You look really concerned when I said
I said last year. Still doing that? That's bad. I don't know. I don't know. Because I can't see how weeding people out. Because I did really bad on that, and they hired me. So, who are we weeding out?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting.
Maybe if you do well, you don't get hired.
Well,
I don't know. I guess.
So how was it like going from a previous career field to now getting into ATC? What was that like for you?
I don't know. So the physical, you say like physical therapy, ATC, like
because you're in NCO at this point, right?
Yeah, I was already a staff. Yeah. I was already 5 at that time. When I actually put in the cross train. Yeah. So it really wasn't that crazy. I got kind of bored of physical therapy. Especially, I guess, as a PT tech, you're pretty much, and
it's kind of monotonous.
The demographic that we had was pretty much, tech school students at Keesler and then retirees.
Yeah.
A lot of the same stuff. We got to do inpatient stuff like total hips, total knee replacements, and stuff like that. That was, I guess, more interesting, but it was still tedious because we had to like do it on weekends and stuff that we were supposed to be off, but we would, whatever. Which is normal life. Like PT techs do that in the civilian world too. But anyway, I got kind of bored of it, and I realized if I really wanted to without staying in the military, if I really wanted to make any money or really do something with this, I was gonna have to go through a lot more schooling. Yeah. And I was like, and I was not about school. That's why, Air Force, like, yeah. And I dread writing a paper, like literally like any paper at all. Yeah. Anyway, so that was kind of the appeal to ATC. Googling it, and it's like, one of the highest paid career fields without having a degree.
Yeah, the difference average salary between an air traffic controller and an attorney is $7,000.
Yeah, right. And how much between student loans or just time in school and all that stuff. And
I looked into a law program at Florida State, and it's like a $62,000 program.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's 2 years. So. That's outrageous. But
so that was the appeal. No less school and higher pay on the backside, and still government job. And I knew that if I was to do my time in the Air Force and get out, I knew I did 10.5 years in the Air Force, and every time I tell
same here. Yeah.
So every time I tell somebody that, they're like, "Why'd you get out? You're over halfway. Just finish up the 20." And I was like, "Well, because I could buy my time back."
That's right.
And I get that 10.5 years added on to my FAA retirement.
Yeah.
I'll still have to do 20 with the FAA, but now it's a 30-year retirement instead of just a 20. So, anyway, so there was a lot of like that transition from physical therapy to air traffic really wasn't that crazy. I knew all the instructors at the schoolhouse before I cross-trained. I lived with one of them. So, the guy I met in ALS, like he was my roommate, and then I cross-trained, and they can't make us not live together now.
Yeah, because they have to solve that problem, right? Don't you have to?
So they're gonna make sure that he's not my actual instructor. Yeah, obviously, but I think it's just like an enlisted person marrying an officer.
Sure.
If they had a prior relationship before that, they can't stop you from doing that. That was, I guess those are the rules, because technically that's fraternization or whatever. But if you can prove that there was a prior relationship before that, before the rank happened, I guess. But.
Well, the funny thing too is that the way that law is set up in the ECMJ is you can marry, you just can't date.
Yeah. Right. So you have to hide. Your whatever relationship, however long that is.
There's no problem being married.
Isn't very long in the military, but
fraternization only applies to dating. It doesn't apply to marriage. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's so ridiculous.
So it's not like me living with him wasn't a
conflict of interest.
And as long as they avoided him actually being an instructor.
Sure.
But I knew all the other. I played softball with all of them. Even one of the instructor supervisors, like really good friends with him. On Wednesdays, the Hooters down on the beach, and when it was there, it was whatever special they had at Hooters on Wednesdays. I would be in class, and I would get out of class for lunch, and I would hop in instructors' cars, wherever, and we would all go to Hooters together. And like with instructor supervisor, with all the other instructors.
That's so funny.
Probably not my actual instructors because again they kept us. But I mean, so anyway.
Just be like that, man.
So the transition was easy.
Yeah.
I was living off base. Like I'm in class with all these tech school kids who were marching back and forth from class, and I'm just willy nilly.
Yeah.
I can concentrate on class. I'm not worried about all the other outside stuff. And then if I had questions, I asked my roommate.
There you go. Well, what about when you got to, say, Nellis? Like, because there's probably a difference in culture, right, between the medical community and, say, within ATC.
For sure.
Okay.
So when I first decided to cross train, friend of a friend who was also an ATC in the Air Force, but I didn't really know him, but he said, "Why are you going from support to operations? Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, your hours are awesome. Like, now you're going to go to shift work. Now you know what I mean?" And I didn't know what I was like that. Like, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't know about the changing shifts.
I didn't know. Like, I knew nothing about that. I didn't know what I was getting into there, which didn't matter because when I was at Keesler, we had down Fridays, right? So we worked mainly 9 to 10 hour days, and every other Friday off. So those days were longer than a normal 8-hour day.
But it's nice to have a 3-day weekend every other weekend.
Yeah, and it was awesome. Yeah. And then if a holiday fell on a Monday or whatever, your weeks are always short. Anyway, so what was I saying? I lost my train of thought now.
You were talking about your buddy asked you about.
So then I start working at Nellis and they're 8-hour days, and I'm like, oh shoot, we're going home already. Like it felt like nothing. I was like, man, this is. I don't care about this shift work. My days are shorter than they were when I was at Keesler, which is only specific to Keesler. If I was medical somewhere else, I would have probably done 8-hour days.
Yeah.
But so my transition to that shift work, shorter days was nice. At fine. Now 8 hours feels like 8 hours because that's not long enough. But
for sure,
not that that's a long day. But
Yeah. Standard day in maintenance is like 12, waiverable to 16, and trust me, you gonna get that waiver.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about ATC. We're protected by that. We're not gonna go over 10.
Yeah, exactly. I had somebody try to pull the whole. This is a trick that they pulled in maintenance. Like you couldn't do maintenance work after 12 hours unless you had a waiver to work to 16. But then there were some leaders who'd say, yeah, but your paperwork is not actually maintenance.
Yeah.
So they'd make us do all the paperwork afterwards. And eventually somebody complained about that and they stopped. They tried to pull the same thing in ATC, and I was like, it's not wise. Yeah. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, not with ATC. You got FAA rules that you have to worry about. Not just you have a mishap and that's whatever. But so that transition wasn't too bad. I enjoyed it. Just again, it shortened my days and work. People don't realize there's a lot of breaks in ATC, which are completely necessary.
Sure.
When you work an hour to 2 hours at a time, and then you're going to need a 30-minute break or more to kind of decompress and then get back in there and do it again. So that aspect of it was cool. Maybe not so much in training initially, because even on breaks, you're supposed to be training or studying or doing whatever. But once you're certified,
that's your time.
That's your time. So in physical therapy, like you had a lunch break, a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever that was, and that's it. You were working for those 9-10 hours that I was working. So I like the breakup of ATC, even though it can be stressful for that hour or 2 hours, depending on the traffic and time of day and all that. But
when I was running crews, I would make that a point. So I had no problem. Man, if the evals were done, you didn't have any sort of big Air Force work, do like a CBT or something, like get out of the facility, go somewhere, go work out, bring games in, play games and stuff like that. Like I need you decompressed and ready. But COVID's made it difficult. So I can use my last assignment. It was tower only, and they had a day shift and a swing shift, and that's it. But the manning was for a day shift and a swing shift. Well, now because of COVID, they've got 2 day shifts and 2 swing shifts, and they rotate them every 2 weeks. So these guys and gals are working 8 to 10 hours in a position. They're not getting a break, and the ops haven't stopped. All the commercial traffic has slowed down some, which I'm sure you can appreciate. So it's not wise.
No.
There's a girl who lost her ratings there, who's a fine controller, right? And it was a situational awareness thing, but it was like at the end of a day, and it's she's been working 2 weeks like this, and one maybe 2 days off because they have to support the weekend operations as well. And I don't know that there's a better solution, although one of them is to make sure that all the facility staff have their ratings because they're required to. But that wasn't the case either. So it's it's tough.
You don't really have the FAA like obviously experience or know with all on how that stuff works in the FAA. What you see in the Air Force is nothing compared to what some of the FAA, not to throw the FAA on the butt, like the FAA's got to do what it's got to do, and it does it. And you were a supervisor, maybe you ran a crew, like all that stuff, but you're still a controller. FAA is more divided. Management versus controllers, union versus non-union guys. Like non-union guys are telling all the union guys what to do. They're running the rotations, they're running the shifts. So there's definitely a lot of butting heads when it comes to the office versus controllers. Where usually in the Air Force, for the most part, the office is working with the controllers, like they're. And depending on the facility you're at in the FAA, that can be the case. But there's a lot of facilities that aren't that.
Gotcha.
So they'll get the most out of you, or
sure. I mean,
which is what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, they need production.
You got to take the person into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely, and
morale and all that.
For sure. I mean, I think in ATC that problem gets exacerbated more than, say, other types of jobs because it's a tribal career field. Back when I came through, I actually don't know what the current stats are because it's a different program now, or a different curriculum. But when I came through, if you had 20 people, let me get the numbers right. If you had 20 people in a class, that was reduced by the end of the course to 12. 12 people. So that's a 40% washout rate. Boom, you're not going to make it through. They had a washback rate of 107%. Now that factors in people that wash back more than one time, and some people do not wash back at all. But generally, you're going to face a washback at some point out there.
Is that including non-ATC reasons for a washback? Like not that they were just struggling. Maybe they had like a medical issue that they broke their leg and they had to miss 2 weeks.
That's a good question.
You know what I mean?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. But that would,
especially the combat controller guys and like all those guys. Like, they have injuries and send them back and they're out
for sure.
I don't know.
So, and then of those 12 that are remaining, 50% wash out of the first base, which means out of a class of 20, you're only producing 30% that are going to be controllers. And oh, by the way, that 30% can wash out at any point in their career field, right? So when you look at that,
they PCS somewhere, and
exactly. You go from Keesler Tower to like Nellis. Yeah, you're done. Start looking for jobs. So when you look at a 70% washout rate, which is essentially what it is by the first base, first of all, it's a tribal. It's one of the more elite career fields because, like, PJs have a similar, combat controllers have a similar one, but we don't consider air traffic control, but that's what the data says. And because of that, when you get your first rating in an ATC facility, like, you kind of feel, okay, I'm getting it, I'm kind of part of the group, but nobody else thinks that. Because you haven't made it yet. You still don't have the badge. But then there's so many discriminators within ATC, right? So, okay, you got your 5 level, but you don't have your RAPSI. right? You don't have all the positions within the facility, just enough to say that you're a 5 level. You can work without supervision. But then once you get all the positions...
With minimal supervision.
Right.
Not without supervision.
Sure, fair enough. Yeah, because you get to watch too. Yeah. But but then after that you go from okay, well, you're a 5 level, but you're not a trainer. And then you're a trainer, but you're not an NCO. But then you're an NCO, but you're not a watch soup. And then all these different things. So you're constantly creating these pockets of people, these many subcultures within this larger culture. And I think a problem where you have like union versus non-union, that's kind of a natural way, because that's how you survive. That's how you're organized within ATC into these many tribes, you know?
So and the other thing about ATC is we always feel like we're owed. So we're the only people that could do this job. Go find somebody else to do it. So good luck finding somebody else to do it. So
Reagan tried that.
So exactly. So when a supervisor or manager or somebody like asks for things, which I don't know, I guess as a newer FAA guy, you're like, what's the big deal? He's asking for something. Like it's really not a big deal, but some guy that's been in for
like to move the
years,
coffee maker.
Yeah, it's like it's like,
yeah,
you gotta write an MFR for that or something. I don't know. Like it's just like everything is made out to be a big deal because everybody's so comfortable where they're at, and I don't know. They just when I first got to my first facility in FAA, I could not believe how unappreciative people were to have that job. Like people just took it for granted. And I can see that, not that I do now, but I could see more why they acted like that. They act like that. But I still don't think it's justified. Like I don't know. There's a little bit of entitlement, a little like obviously cockiness, which is required probably to do the job.
Yeah.
For the most part, you got to be confident. You got to make the decisions that you're making and stand
could it be
by
just
them.
Political strategy?
Yeah, kinda.
You know, because if somebody does something, if somebody does something like moves a coffee maker, because that's totally ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. If I don't make a big deal about it, well, then I'm complicit in their arbitrary action.
And yes, and I could see, it's a lot of like, well, if I don't complain about this, what's going to come next?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I have to let them know that I'm not okay with this, even though I'm okay with it. But
everything you do, I'm going to put something sort of fight.
So you're not going to ask for more later. I could see that. But
because that's kind of what politics is, right?
Exactly what it is.
Like you can look at like masks, right? It's this political issue, which is a ridiculous political issue. Doesn't matter what side you are on it, but the fact that masks is a national debate is kind of silly. Mm-hmm. You know, my own opinion, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's one of those things where, well, okay, if you believe this and this is your side, well, I'm going to take the opposite because I have to, because I can't be complicit in your arbitrary.
Yeah, and that's why you have the two. Like you have like, what's the big deal? Just put your damn mask on. And then the other people are like, well, if I put the mask on, what are they going to ask for next?
Exactly.
And what are they going to take away next?
That's literally the argument.
That's literally all it is.
Yeah, that's literally the argument.
It has nothing to do with are the masks working or not. It has nothing to do with anything like that. It just has to do with control and whatever. But but that is probably what it is in ATC, a little bit of it. But it also is people really take the job for granted, and when you're a new employee, you're waiting, like right, you're like like I'm trying to be part of the club, everybody wants this, and then you get in, you're super excited, you show up to your facility, I'm gung ho about training and all that stuff, and the 10-year guy, 15-year guy is like looking at you like, that'll change in 2 weeks, like whatever. And it probably, and a lot of times it does. And
even if you don't want it to, it's like the group kind of forces you in that.
You will conform
to the group. Yeah, right.
Because you want to get certified, right?
Fair enough.
You're going to get trained by that guy.
So it's in your best interest to appeal to the favoritism of the people training because they're the kind of gatekeepers. Again, makes it tribal.
Part of the club, man.
Makes it tribal.
If you're, because you're only, if you, I don't know, because go back to my buddy that with the en route thing, and like, I don't know specifics, and I'm not saying this is why he didn't make it, and maybe he probably has a legit reason why, other than, it's not just him giving up, maybe it's something else. But like, if you don't go in with an open mind and you can disagree with your trainer all you want in your head, but if you argue and stuff like that, like you're putting your career on the line. Like you didn't even start yet. Your career didn't even start yet, but I don't know. So
I tell people when I train them, I say it's in your best interest to give me the opportunity to be full of shit. So if I tell you to do something, do it. And then if it doesn't work out, guess what?
You can blame me.
I'm full of shit.
Yeah, you can blame me. Like,
so put me in the position to be full of shit.
Like, yeah, I don't know. And then when you get into live training, like outside the schoolhouse and all that in FA, like your trainer's there's gonna be times where you do things that are wrong, and they're gonna let it go, and they're gonna let it go until you can't anymore, and then that person's supposed to take over and fix it. And then there's gonna be other times where you have a trainer who tells you what to do before you even had time to think about what you were supposed to do or anything, because as a trainer or as an experienced air traffic guy, you can see those conflicts further out and way earlier than a trainee. But are you training them?
Yeah.
And so, the ability to kind of let go a little bit. Yeah, you got to be, as a trainee, you got to learn how to make decisions and do all that. But you have to let go a little bit and let your trainer do what your trainer says.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And then that's why you learn so much more after you're certified.
100%. Look,
you learn everything after you're certified.
My favorite thing to do, and me and Phil had talked about this on the podcast, is teach somebody something. I found an affinity for that because you end up, when my grandfather was alive, he was a student of chess. Like he loved chess, and he enjoyed playing me in chess. That's because I was a moron at chess. So in chess, you have these openings, like they have named openings, and so you can read those openings, right?
Not that I play chess, but when I was younger, I was taught some openings.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like a formal strategy to chess. But me, being a kid and a moron about chess, I know the rules, no opening. I play the game irrationally. So you might set up an opening, and then somebody else sets up a defense, and you sort of do this kind of, dance, right? But me, when you're expecting an opening to go this way and I just randomly go over here, like it throws your strategy off. So he enjoyed that aspect. I never won.
Yeah.
But he would tell me that.
Get him to think outside the box.
Yeah,
because when you're playing somebody else's experience, they're going to come back with an opening or a defense that you've probably seen before.
100%.
You know what I mean? And then it almost plays itself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good way to look at it because the game kind of becomes automated, right? Yeah. It's crazy stuff, man.
Air traffic is just a different beast.
It's a different beast
than any other career field ever.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? when you were talking earlier, you were talking with your hand, and I thought, I've said this
every once in a while. I'm Italian, so it's.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Two types of people talk with their hands: Italians and air traffic controllers.
And I got them both.
Like if I'm telling my wife about something like an arrival sequence, right? I'll be like, and he was here, and he's base, short finally gave traffic, all that stuff. But it's so funny that air traffic controllers kind of just they have to communicate with their hands. Of course. This is every type of plane right here, right?
Yeah. I see a Skyhawk and a 737.
Yep, got it. Oh man, you'll like this story. So I was working CI one day, and the arrival controller cleared a 172 on final for the ILS, right? It was a practice VFR approach. And then that same controller had a regional jet coming in, and with 5 miles of difference on final, cleared the regional jet in, and then shipped in the tower. And by the time I realized it,
frequency set, I get it
already. Yeah.
But I don't know my frequency anymore. It's not my responsibility.
So I said, "Why'd you do that?" He's like, "What? Do what?" And I was like, "You can't clear that guy. Like he's gonna eat him up." And he goes, "He's VFR. Like front guy's VFR." And I thought, like, that doesn't mean he's like transparent or that like he's not there. Like,
exist.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just shoving him down there, and it's like it was.
That's like my biggest.
Yeah. That's one of those rules. Yeah.
It's like you can. I don't know, because practice approach route, no temporary service provided, like all that stuff, whatever. Like that doesn't matter to me. I'd rather not say that. There's
100%. I'd rather provide the service.
Treat him like he's another a guy. A IFR approach.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
And you know why he's doing that approach? To practice to become an IFR pilot. Like
sure.
that's what he's doing. So you may as well treat
Give him
him
the
like
service.
that so that he can practice that. Like,
Yeah,
instead
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like that's how I always see it. Like that guy is trying to become a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely, he's most likely training, or he's getting proficiency or whatever he's doing. But yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, he's outside either the Tursa or Charlie or Bravo. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need to provide him that separation. I'm like, well, I know I don't need to, but if I'm not busy and I can.
Exactly.
Why not? Or, I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, and that goes back to like these additional services are not optional. You know, if you got the time, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
even when I got to go for it, there was people there like they'd be like, "Oh, you have to say no separate service." I was like, "Okay."
Or I could
and
provide
it
the
said,
service.
and I do have to say, like it says I have to say that. But if I don't say that, and I don't know. There's always
What's the
these
counter
arguments.
argument that you get out
So
there?
a lot of times is well, he's VFR. So if you pin him on an altitude, maintain an altitude till established, what if he goes into a cloud and now he can't see and something happens that way? And he's not IFR certified. He's not, or whatever. I don't know.
So
because that guy even he knows he's VFR. Mm-hmm. I didn't make him IFR. I didn't clear him to that airport.
yeah.
I cleared him for the approach because that's what he's practicing. Mm-hmm. So I told him maintain 3,000 until established or something or whatever I'm telling him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he needs to dodge a cloud, he's going to dodge a cloud.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I don't know. Yeah, he's picking up the glide slope localizer and like he's trying to practice that. But if that was really an issue, he's flying that plane, man. Like he can do that. I think. I don't know. I don't have any pilot experience. I don't have any.
Yeah.
Of that. I've had trainers that are pilots that have taught me, like when I just
Giving
said,
you
like,
some sort of pilot perspective. Yeah.
like when I just said, like that guy's practicing to become an IFR pilot. Like why not do it?
Yeah.
That's how
I think that
it's not extra work.
No, exactly. And I think what people forget about that, and first of all, it says on initial contact or as soon as possible thereafter.
As soon as possible.
So
as soon as possible could be maintain VFR practice route, no separate services provided, contact tower.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
As soon as possible.
Yeah. And it also says what the intent is. There's a note right underneath there that people ignore. It says it's just advising the pilot that although you're receiving ATC or IFR type services, you're still VFR. So this whole argument about like saying the word clear doesn't matter to me because of that note. That note makes it okay. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he said clear. There shouldn't be confusion. And by the way, one thing I love about the AIM and the .65, they match. They match 100%. There's never been an instance that I've found where it doesn't mean the same thing. You know what I mean? So
people interpret a lot of those
there's no need to interpret that one.
There isn't. I know, and I know that, and that's my argument too.
Yeah,
but I don't know. They were taught away. They stick with it, and
well, again, they would have to in order for. It's like apologizing. In order for you to apologize, you have to let part of yourself die because you were wrong. So that identity that you had about being correct, which is a virtue, by the way, that part has to die. That's why apologizing, it's deeply ingrained in our psyche about our identity being what is true. It's the whole idea. What is correct is what is true. And so you're discussing you're having a philosophical moment about truth. Like that's why.
So, and then. So I was at Nellis, I was at Jacksonville, and I'm at Gulfport. And I would say Gulfport's probably the slowest, least complex place I've been.
Okay.
Not to say that it's not complex or too slow. Or
were you at Jack Center or were you?
I was at Tracon.
Okay.
Up down. So I was tower and radar over there. And I didn't go into Gulfport or like saying like I knew everything. I tried not to. Because I don't, because it's different airspace. There's different, they do things differently there. Different way. Every place you go to, that's what's going to happen. But there's definitely a lot of times where I corrected trainers while I was a trainee. Not corrected like on the spot, like afterwards and be like, hey, no, this is actually what it's supposed to be. And it's something that person has been doing their whole career or how they've been there they've only been to Gulfport, 20 years. They've only been at Gulfport. So they don't necessarily realize there is a different way to do it, or or they've been doing it wrong this whole time because nobody's been correcting them. And it's not like wrong, like dangerous.
Yeah.
It's just not exactly what you're supposed to do.
Sure.
And I really tried hard not to be like correcting people because nobody wants that guy at work. But there was a couple of times where I was like, no, like it says it right here. What we're supposed to do. And just because you've been doing it like this for 10 years doesn't mean that's how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do that sometimes.
For sure. And it's tough too, because anytime you try to correct, you're kind of having a mini argument, right? You know, so there's
especially when the other person's just stubborn as well, you know, and then they'll try to manipulate the .65 and being like, and they'll go to some other chapter and be like, well, it says this here, and I'm like, that doesn't, like, that has nothing to do with it.
But the operations don't. Yeah. Just exactly. So. But,
that's personalities too. Like, you're going to run into that in any career field, really. But yeah, we're supposed to have like this book to go back to back ourselves up.
Yeah.
That we're supposed to follow,
but you also have to be kind of egotistical to be an air traffic controller. So that comes into it also. You know,
have to. And you wouldn't want anybody that you really wouldn't want anybody that wasn't to do the job, because then you don't have the confidence in them when you're working with them. Like I'm working tower, they're working radar. I want to have confidence in the radar controller to not screw me over, and I don't want to screw them over, and so you want them to have that confidence for sure.
One of the students one time asked me, "Hey, what facility should I go to if I want to be trained the best?" Just one of these general random. You know what I said? I said, any facility I'm at. That's what I said. And they kind of laughed, but I had a serious face. And I said, let me explain to you why I say that. Because you have to have a bit of arrogance about yourself and a bit of confidence, right? You got to turn it off when you leave the IFR room or the tower cab. But it's the difference of this. Traffic, 12 o'clock, 5 miles westbound, B35, or traffic, 12 o'clock, 5 miles westbound, B35, stuff like that. Like it's a difference in the way you speak that gives confidence to the pilot,
a tone. Yeah. You have to, I mean, because pilots know, the pilots will figure it out, and you don't sound confident and you're busy, you're rambling on, you're giving bad traffic calls, or being like, traffic 1 o'clock, oh no, 11 o'clock, like, what I mean, going, doing stupid stuff like that, which is going to happen, especially when you're newer. But that confidence, then they don't listen to you, or you'll give them an instruction. And
they'll question it.
You'll either question it or they'll ignore you. They'll be like, I don't want to do that, so they don't say anything back. And then you have to, then you're busy and you have to repeat that instruction, and instead of going to do what you planned on doing. But if you had confidence. Look, I ran into a lot in Jacksonville with weather.
Sure.
Weather.
Like probably the end of summer, in the afternoon, all that afternoon rain that just flows through that area.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was in South Georgia.
Through there. Yeah, it's the same, that's the same thing. If you don't, like, you'll have a hole for the weather that you see on your radar, and they have the regional pilots and stuff. They have different radar on theirs.
Color weather radar, yeah.
Yeah, and the timing is different. Like, mine's usually precipitation. It's all precipitation for me, but it's usually pretty accurate. Where theirs might be either delayed or maybe it's, I don't know. But
it's also a difference in where they're getting the information, because a limitation by Doppler radar is that it can't penetrate, and so they're seeing it laterally. You're seeing it from top down, so you actually have the more accurate picture. But so that's what crashed Air France 447. Is they were painting. What they were painting was kind of green, like they could fly through it, and it was from Rio de Janeiro to Paris. And they were painting some cells that they could fly through, but immediately behind that were cells they couldn't. And it contained supercooled water, froze over the pitot tubes, crashed the jet, whatever. But that's a limitation to the color weather radar, is they can't see behind that. But my estimation is that pilots don't understand that limitation, and that's why they might question it. Like question ATC.
They over the last year or two, I think that
You're good.
They've gotten better, even with CBTs and stuff like that, to explain what we see and what pilots see. And I think pilots are going through that same training, so that we can paint a better. I can tell you what I see. You can add that to what you see and then make decisions. And then going back to the confidence thing, I can be like, hey, I just had another regional jet go through this hole right here.
Sure.
It's only 3 miles wide and it's moving.
And maybe you got a pirate too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all and I'm like, because I've had that happen where a guy's like, I'm not going that way. All I see is purple. Like, I'm not going that way. And I'm like, well, I just had somebody go 3 miles east of that and it was clear, like literally clear. And it's purple on the other side of that 3 miles too, but you just got to hit that hole. Otherwise you're not getting out of here. Like it's just, that's the line is too long. Like you're not going to get out of here unless you get up way above it. But, and it's worked. And that's the confidence in your voice and your, all that.
You know how controllers roast each other? Like in the IFR room, if they do something like stupid, like it's like a 40-minute roast because you said one small thing in a fraction of a second. So there was a time where, shout out to Sam Jackson, he was one of my trainers at Moody when I got there, but he was having a tough day. Probably drank a little too much, the night prior, And
he got his 12 hours though, right?
Yeah, of course. And then he had.
That's Air Force. It's only 8 in the FAA.
Hey now. You come in nice and primed.
You got a day shift. You got to be done by 10.
Yeah. So he came to work and he was just kind of botching, like just his words, and one of the pilots, and he was a rated trainer, facility rated. And he said, hey, approach, is it possible we can get a rated controller? Oh yeah. Now you can imagine how hilarious that would have been. And the watch soup keyed up and said, hey, this watch soup, he's good. He's having a rough day. He is a rated controller.
So I got a good story for like that. At Nellis, there was a guy who had been there forever, really good controller, like strong controller at Nellis. And he said he was working by himself. And I think he probably only had like one plane, like it was slow. And he said something and it was completely wrong. And he realized it right after he said it was wrong. So he keyed up again and he said, sorry, training in progress. And he corrected it like he was the trainer.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, then
I love that.
So he fixed it.
I've done that to a 5 level just to, just for fun. Yeah.
Himself, working by himself, nobody watching him, nobody doing anything. He's like, sorry, training in progress, and he fixed it. Yeah.
Did he change his voice?
I guess he did a little bit, but I'm sure the pilot was like, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's so funny. We had a guy who could do a really good Christopher Walken. And so on the weekends he would control like that. It was pretty funny.
That's cool.
One time there was a pilot I had. It was on a weekend. It was during a bowl game, like that time of year. Anyway, he's like, "Hey, approach. Is there any way we could get the score to the North Dakota game?" So, Roger, stand by. And so we look it up, and I tell him, and he says, "Roger, thanks." I said, "You and tens of fans must be super stoked right now."
Seriously. That's cool.
But something I found interesting. So at Moody again, it was tough. The things that I'm like understand very well now are the things I struggled with when I got into ATC, especially VFR and non-radar, and I got really good
VFR
at both.
on top.
What's that?
VFR on top.
Is that one of yours?
No, but
okay.
I mean,
that's another one too.
It was because it's not just it's a thing that's not used a lot.
Not used.
Like
very misunderstood.
The special phrase. I mean, not special, but like specific phraseology that's just not used a lot.
Yeah.
So it's everybody's struggle at some point, and then you figure it out. But.
Yeah. So within non-radar, what I ended up being practically is the person who would get people who were struggling through non-radar out of non-radar. Right. I was very good at it, and so I had this one trainee who was struggling. He was on his way out, right? Luckily, we got him rated. But in the process, so he was a former cornerback at UAB. So we were in this non-radar sim. I guess there's two stories here. We were in this non-radar sim, and I usually ran like a 45-minute sim. They only needed to run like a 15-minute sim. But, it's one of those things, right? And so we're getting in there, and about, like, I'm going to cut it short at about 30 minutes. We're at minute like 22, and he loses separation. He doesn't notice it, and so we get done. I was like, how do you think you did? He's like, yeah, I think I did pretty well. And then I told him the conflict, and he got mad. And he picked up the strip, and he looked at it, and then he just threw it threw it against his rack, and he's like, "You're making me do things that other people don't have to do." And I said, "Okay, well, first of all, correct. That's a good observation." And I said, "But you were a cornerback, right?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Has there ever been a time in a game where you played harder than you've ever practiced?" He's like, "No." I was like, "That's exactly what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. I could put you up right now, but I'm not worried about you applying. I'm worried about it actually going on radar in your cert. What if that happens? Mm-hmm. And you now have the gravity of this, and you're going to give the airspace up because that's what we did. But I need to make sure that you can handle that weight, And on his cert day, he applied a rule for lateral separation using degree divergence, but he used GPS instead of a radial, mm-hmm. right? So this has been, since I started training, this paragraph has been a rule. You can use it, you just can't track away because it uses GPS. So you can maintain GPS track to navigation, but you can't track from a waypoint. So you can literally pick any waypoint, any named waypoint, and you can apply degree divergence using the GNSS table, mm-hmm. and you can actually apply degree divergence that way. But I could see when he picked out, because he picked the initial approach fix for one of the approaches, and he just had 2 aircraft just to kind of deconflict them, and then he stopped using it. But I saw his face because I was in the room for it, and was like, gave one of those. And so after the same, he's like, "Well, you didn't pass because you did this." And then he was able to recite exactly why he mm-hmm. did it. Mm-hmm. But the evaluator still didn't like it because it was one of those, well, I've never done that. Yeah. Nobody's ever seen it, right? We had to go to the chief controller with the NSC, and then he explained it, and it's in there. It's not a change bar next to mm-hmm. it, nothing, right? So the chief controller actually overrode the evaluator, which was really cool. But again, it goes back to some of what we were talking about one, maybe confidence. There's some of that in there, but also kind of actually knowing the book, mm-hmm. right?
So we say that all the time, like, know what rule you're breaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, that's normal. Because especially the degree of divergence, like a lot of people
that's tough
aren't comfortable with it or scared of it. I don't know. I like to use it.
That's the primary way.
It's so easy. Like, because now with the new systems with stars and everything, like, they can, when you don't have separation, it snitches. They call it snitch. Like, it'll create a report and send it to Atlanta, and then it trickles back down to the region, back down to your facility. Like, dude, if you for the most part, if you bust separation, it's not like somebody dropped their pencil anymore and didn't see it. Like, it's going to be even worse now.
Really?
Here this next year. I just had an Elms a bit CBT training that their new system, I think it's called Aries or something. I don't remember it now, but I just did it last week. But
I mean, it makes sense because they're probably going to leverage the ADSB technology in that too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Okay.
It has a lot to do. So I did that briefing through a Zoom meeting, and my first question was like, so what about passing and diverging? Is it good every time we do passing and diverging? Like, is it gonna kick it out? Like, because they're supposed to use them. So now it's not even going to be when you bust separation necessarily. It's going to be when something wasn't safe. So there's no
whatever that means.
There's no whatever that means. So there's no quantitative thing. Like, it's not 3 miles, 1,003. It's something like you were maybe your decision to fix it wasn't done in a timely manner.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means, and it could be anything. So that's why my first question was like passing divergence. So every time I do this, it's gonna, like, I don't have nowhere close to 3 miles, but it is, according to the book, good. It's gonna kick something out every time. So,
and I would hope that they would have a level of analysis of something like that where they would say, okay, well, we can throw this one out, but my fear is that what's going to happen at least is that they're going to have a discussion with you. You know what I mean?
I know.
That's the most annoying part.
The people that aren't comfortable with using passive diversion are just not going to use it anymore. And if you're busy enough, it can make life a lot easier. And that's what I was kind of worried about too. But it's supposed to be much more like the algorithms are supposed to be way more complex and be able to recognize those things.
Bro, it's Skynet, man.
Yeah,
they're coming for your job. When do you think it's
I don't know.
It's going to happen? I think there's only 2 or 3 like virtual towers in the U.S. I think there's more in Europe, but
that requires a lot of money from the airlines, and they're not going to spend it. I think that's what it is. So the technology is all there.
100%.
It's all there. It's sitting there, but it's going to cost billions of dollars to put that equipment on airplanes. Who's going to put it on the airplanes?
I don't know, man. Well, okay. You're talking about a retrofit type of situation.
Yes. So the airlines want the FAA and to, split the bill with them or whatever. And like, who's going to put all the technology has to be at every, just about every airport, all that kind of stuff. Cause you're going to have other smaller airports that are just not going to have it, obviously.
They'll probably create different classes of airports.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which there is already.
Yeah.
I mean, they're, to an extent. A lot of it is just money. It's just the time it's going to take and the money, because there's a lot of airplanes.
I kind of think that for sure. I think the process would be through attrition, but I think also with the design element. First of all, if you don't have pilots, I think the first generation will be you'll reduce down to a single pilot that's on board the plane. That's also a systems operator. So he's going to be sort of like a computer guy that's also capable of landing the plane. That's my initial thought. But imagine all the space you save for like an entire flight deck, all the like bunks on larger aircraft. Well, now we can monetize that space and put more seats. There's that. We pay less money for pilots, for pensions, because I think pilots have a pretty good pension. So there's money to be reallocated there, and
it's getting worse.
Yeah, pensions. I'm going to turn this AC down, man. It's cold.
Yeah, a little chilly.
Yeah,
all good. Yeah, I don't know. An idea that a controller that I knew in Jacksonville, they were talking about, and to save money and fuel and stuff, was to go to some type of, I guess, battery powered or solar or something for taxiing. Just for taxiing. Because I don't know the numbers at all. I haven't looked up to this, but it's a significant amount of the gas is used on taxiing.
I believe that.
Or being idle, or there's if there's edicts or obviously delays, release times and stuff, and they're at the end of the runway, they're shutting down engines and they're waiting and like, hey man, I'm gonna need a heads up before my time, and so I can start put the other engine on or whatever I'm doing, but. So, and taxiing out, and depending on how big of the airport, like you can go to Atlanta, you're taxiing forever, or you're in line, waiting, in line, and engines are running, and like all that, like where you might be able to use a lot less gas if you the batteries don't have to be as strong, or you're not flying the plane. So but you are
I like that idea.
And what else? And then batteries die. You have your engines, like you can go to gas, like whatever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There's something like that.
But
I like that. I think that was a good idea. I don't know if that was something that he actually read about, or if that was his like an idea that he had or whatever. But I just remember that idea, and I was like,
that's very clever. Yeah.
Because I would be like, we're not going to do electric planes all the time. Like, I mean, maybe if that ever came to, but. That's a good idea. While they're on the ground, nothing can really go wrong on the ground.
Yeah,
with that, I don't think. I don't know, but Tesla can come up with a battery for airplanes to have them taxi.
It wouldn't surprise me if Elon has an entire plan of how to fix that entire problem. But
that's probably like so old what I just said. I mean, he's like, that was an idea.
Maybe it was. I mean, it's a good idea to me. Yeah, man, I had a thought about that. Oh yeah, what do you think about maybe charging general aviation for IFR service?
Yeah, that's like an ongoing joke, right? Like,
because they're getting a lot of infrastructure for free.
For sure, it's nuts.
Yeah, that like
crazy.
Yeah, everything is of course there's landing fees and there's fuel. A lot of the fuel goes back to the aviation industry, but most of it is just commercial aviation. You know, I mean it's and I don't think it would be that bad. I mean, even any money, but would be great, but they're taking advantage of the radar. They're taking advantage of the controller. They're taking advantage of the star system, all that stuff.
And that's why the frequency we are using are 80 years old or whatever they are, because this is what you get unless there has to be a joint effort going back to ADS-B and like all that stuff and putting the advanced technology on planes. Like there has to be give on both sides to upgrade like VORs and stuff. Like
those are going away.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
for sure. Because but they're the same VORs. They're still using them now, but they're the same VORs from when flying started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know where I was going with that, but.
Well, the point is, you've got to bring revenue into this in order to attrit the system and update it and whatnot.
And it should be from them and not from student pilots that are trying to become, because it's expensive to try to become a pilot.
It's very expensive.
Like over the last 5-10 years, it's gotten like ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
it used to not be as bad. Gas prices, blah blah blah, in time. But
I did a podcast with Jamie Arena. He's a regional pilot up in, or no, I think he's on. I think the 757 or 7. It's either the 57 or the 777. Anyway, we talk about. I asked him to walk us through him getting a pilot's license, and then at each step, and like, okay, so how much are you into it now? Okay, how much are you into it now? And he blew $100,000 like that. Yeah. And that's the problem too, is because I think the FAA changed the requirement for your ATP
so much longer. You have to need a lot more hours.
Exactly, which
so much more money. As
a result, they created a problem that an economist loves. They say, okay, well, we dried up the supply of pilots, right? So we have to increase the salary to attract pilots, which means we're taking pilots from the military and all that experience. So there was this mass exodus, which means now they had to start offering $250,000 bonuses to these Air Force pilots. I mean, it's a huge problem, and I don't know. I shouldn't really have an opinion on it because I haven't read why they did it. But it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely a problem. I mean, they're making it more difficult for.
I mean, you have to fly an RJ for so long now, getting paid $40,000 a year,
and that is a tough. Like that's probably the worst part of becoming a pilot.
Yeah, and you have to do that for how long now? It used to not be as bad, but you have to do that for so long now to make no money traveling around the country, crazy hours, whatever.
Yeah,
that's because you're lucky enough to you're lucky to have that job. I don't know. It's crazy now.
Yeah,
it's really like so many people that are. Same thing with the ATC with the baby boomers and all that stuff. Everybody's retiring at once, and now we don't have anybody to replace them. And the the numbers are so bad.
I'm right here, brother.
You ready? No, yeah, I know. And you're hiring freezes and then furloughs and. Because anytime there's any kind of furlough or anything, government shutdown, that academy in Oklahoma City shuts down, and a month-long furlough is not putting the FAA behind it by a month. It's like years.
Right.
It's like crazy.
You know what I loved? It was I think it was 2020. God, there's so many things happening this year, but so when they had the government shutdown, right? And the controllers basically told the airlines, okay, look, we can't pump as many planes out, right? And I think this happened at one of the airports in New York. I think that same day they passed a continuing resolution.
So that was I think it was JFK.
Yeah.
Everybody banged, which banged is calling in sick. I don't know if that's an FAA term.
Okay. I'm glad you had some context there, if I'm honest.
It's called banging.
What?
Yeah, it's calling in sick.
That's hilarious.
And they can't really say no. So you call it's not like the Air Force. Like, okay, well, if you're sick, you need to go to the flight doc
and have it validated
that you're sick.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you don't have to come back to work.
Yeah.
Right? It was like a 4-hour process. I may as well have gone to work. I don't know. But no, not in the FAA. FAA, you can call and be like, hey, I'm not coming in.
Well, it showed how much power air traffic controllers had.
And because it got crazy at that point. It was nuts. And then that day, literally and I knew everybody, like air traffic controllers knew JFK was basically shut down because everybody called in. And then by noon, Trump was on saying, okay, we signed something. Like, we're good. Sorry.
Look, has something like that ever happened, like that serious? I mean, because they literally showed like within half a day.
It was literally half a day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they said, done. Yeah, exactly. They had the government by the, whatever. And
so we're government union, not allowed to strike, but can't take away our sick leave. So at the moment, whatever. But
yeah.
Going back to banging, when I was in Jacksonville,
I would like to get back to that.
when I was at Jacksonville, we had what was called web banging. So our schedule is done online, right? So it's through a website, and so you can see your schedule, so you're working with whatever for weeks, and you can make all your requests too: annual leave, sick leave, whatever you want. And
it's like, I got the flu on July 18th.
So I don't know of any other facilities that were doing it, but usually what you have to do is you can make that request online, and then you call the facility, say, hey, I'm not going to make it. I put in my request for sick leave, and it's approved. It's approved because it's sick leave. And they're not really allowed to ask questions, whatever. You don't need a doctor's note till after 3 or 4 days. Like, so you can call in sick for 3 days and come back to work and like nothing happened. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. They can't say, why were you out? They can't even ask you.
Yeah, because
that's part of union. That's like part of the
Privacy Act
contract.
Oh, okay.
Like what our contract says. Anyway. But at Jacksonville, as long as you did it within a certain time frame, so if you had an 8 o'clock shift, as long as you did it about 2 hours before your shift, I don't remember exactly what it was, you can put the request online and assume that it was done. So you never even had to call work. You didn't have to talk to the supervisor, talk to the manager. You just did that. So I have an opener at 6 o'clock tomorrow. It's 10 o'clock at night. I don't want to go to work. 10 o'clock at night, I say I'm sick. It's on there. I don't go to work the next day. What?
That's hilarious.
Isn't that crazy?
I joke around and say, hey, I want you to know I'm going to have the flu tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I like you're leaving work and like, I think I'm like, you start sniffling past your supervisor and you're walking out, like whatever. But I don't think it's a thing anymore. I think because it got abused.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Oh man, it got abused. Yeah, it was crazy. Because initially it was there was no time frame. You're supposed to be there at 10. It's 10 o'clock. I put it in online, and that's it. Like,
yeah,
I'm not coming in that day. And they're expecting you. They may have to call in overtime because you're not there or something. But then it got to, now if you're on this shift, it has to be at least 2 hours before, or 3 hours before, or whatever. Otherwise, you have to call. Not that you can't call in sick, but you would have to call.
Sure.
Which at that point, people were so spoiled with the web banging that like calling to call and tell you that you're sick, which is going to be approved anyway, was like a small feat. Like I have to call somebody and tell them I'm sick. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just want to do it on my phone, like, and not talk to anybody. But yeah, that was crazy. Web banging.
I got to tell you,
banging and web banging.
The explanation of those two terms didn't go in any direction that I initially thought.
That's the FAA.
So look, man, we can transition a bit from ATC. So you got an ATC, and then you join the FAA and whatnot, and you're obviously married. What do you do when you're not doing ATC?
Well, I have 4 kids.
Okay.
11, 6, 4, and 2. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. What do y'all enjoy doing?
My oldest is playing travel ball right now.
Oh, cool.
So that's like everything right now, for the most part. And now the 6-year-old like wants like that's my only girl, but she's really into it now too. So baseball is in our house is like all day, every day.
Okay.
Which I love. Like, never get sick of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a picture of you without a Yankees hat on.
It's hard to find one.
Yeah.
Probably because I don't have any hair, but no, yeah. Baseball is pretty much everything, and then Bianca, she has her bakery, Mother Goose Bakery.
That's right, Mother Goose Bakery.
Plug.
I've seen that.
So we're busy with that, and now where I'm in my situation where I'm home all the time, we've taken on more with that because I'm available more to help with the kids and run around a little bit, and so we're super busy with that all the time.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
Good. Yeah, it's sweet.
I didn't know that was like, so did she have formal training in that, or?
Not at all.
Okay.
We just talked about this yesterday or something. Yeah, last night we were talking about, somebody said, oh, yeah, my mom taught you how to bake, huh? Like an old friend. And Bianca's like, no, like nobody taught me how to bake. I mean, she's watched YouTube videos and whatever, like everybody else does, but.
Isn't that amazing?
No, man, and she is good. Like,
yeah,
it's unreal. I don't think we have not had, knock on wood, but there's no complaints.
So I didn't know that she did that until actually this morning, because Jillian Langlanez.
We hung out with her last night.
Yeah, so she posted that her kids love making some treat, and she tagged Bianca and also the Facebook page, and that's when I put it together. I suspected, because I think you had shared some from, and she did too, and it was pretty consistent. I thought, like, well, maybe this is a close friend, but 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 that's cool.
No, it's really awesome.
Yeah,
we're still playing with the idea of, because it's been just over a year that she's been doing this. We're still playing with the idea of going brick and mortar someday. Or we'll see. Just gotta find. It's hard finding, either leasing a building, getting land, building a building, doing. I don't know.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do, but
I rolled into this by happenstance. It was just a storage room, and
some people.
Exactly.
Take advantage of it.
Well, that's the thing. When you're military, it's harder to kind of find that network. And then moving back here, I walked into just kind of an old network of people, and that's been great. I've got a friend who's got a podcast as well, and it's called the Tell Me Something podcast. So shout out to Cruz and Holly, but they do a lot of episodes themselves, because like they can talk to people at work, but you kind of have to really diversify yourself, right? And talk to multiple people. And when you're at home and you have like a big network, like I'm trying to work out talking to somebody in the state legislature. I was able to talk to Shay Dobson, because we know each other from high school and whatnot. So got the mayor on. I mean,
and the 20 other mayors that are running this year.
Yeah, no, this is going to be so much fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm really hoping that I can get some of them on here, and maybe they can use this as kind of a platform. But we'll see. And of course. So I don't know if you listened to the Shay Dobson one, but when he started talking about it, like you could hear, like I could see his body language, but you could hear this like competitive spirit, like he was ready. Like, whatever you're going to say, but I'm going to have an opportunity to say some things as well. Cool. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but yeah.
When does that start?
Early
campaign, like
early next year. Yeah, they should be canvassing now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it'll be interesting for sure.
That's cool
for sure. But yeah, man. So pre-COVID, right? What did y'all enjoy doing and getting out to do? Because you do a lot of running, don't you?
So, the running thing. I don't call myself a runner.
Okay.
I've learned a lot in the last year about running. I had a buddy at work at Gulfport, Ryan, who is a runner, runs a lot, has run a lot of marathons and blah, blah, blah. But I definitely learned how to run from him and how to train for a marathon, because I did a marathon.
Like run from him? Like he's always
cheating? Run from him, yeah. I don't know why I did. I guess I know why I did. I had cancer last year, and I was like, man, I need to do something to challenge myself after the fact, like after I had a couple surgeries and stuff. And I was literally 3 weeks post-op from my second surgery, and I went and ran, and then I just kept running. And I actually decided before the first time I ran, I was like, I'm going to run the Rock and Roll Marathon in New Orleans in February. So this was beginning of September, and I was like, I'm going to
last year?
February. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So and I ran it this year in February.
Wow.
Yeah, but before that, I was not a runner at all.
Yeah.
And I do it now a little bit. Like I'll run 4 or 5 miles here and there. Like I ran 5 miles a couple days ago, and it's at this point like running. As long as I do it every couple, once a week, every 2 weeks or something like that, I can run 5 miles anytime.
Sure.
But yeah, it was just a challenge to challenge myself and see if I can stick to some kind of routine and running 5-6 days a week to building up miles. And I ran, 20 miles a couple times before I even did my marathon. Like I ran from the Nugget to Lorraine Cowan and back, which was 20, which was like crazy. Like that's crazy. I run from my house, which I live right over here off 57 by the high school, kind of.
Okay.
I ran from there to the Nugget, actually there to like Keesler, White Ave.
Yeah.
Right, that entrance there, and then run back to like the Y or something from there, and that's usually around 20. So it was cool to challenge myself and do that stuff or whatever. Kind of hurt myself a little bit, so a lot of training was injured. So my marathon, I was actually hurt, but I ran like 4:19, which my goal was under 4, but that didn't happen. I'm gonna do it again. It just takes a lot. It's a lot, man.
Yeah.
With 4 kids and trying to do other stuff, and it's just a lot of time.
Yeah, there's a cost opportunity element there,
which I love. People say like, oh, that runner's high, and like I love to go run, and people are like, I run a mile and like I hate it.
That's a real thing though.
That is super real.
That's a real thing.
Super real. Like there would be times
endorphin.
I'd wake up and like we would have something to do, and I'm like, hey, I just got to go do like 4 real quick. Like I just got to go. Like I'm talking to Bianca, and like I'm like, I'm gonna leave you the kids for a minute. Like I got to go do it. It's just like weird.
Yeah,
it's there. It's a thing.
But it's so you've got, let's see, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and cortisol. Those are the kind of the primary neurochemicals in your brain that get you to do and not do things. And endorphins, yeah, I mean it's as addictive as dopamine. You know what I mean? Like you can get addicted to causing yourself pain. There's an entire element on, some of those, non-family friendly sites that is probably dedicated to that, but the idea is, you're just masking your physical pain. Anybody who's ever laughed long enough or hard enough to where like they say it hurts, but they feel amazing afterwards. That's because endorphins are masking that you're convulsing your internal organs whenever you're laughing that hard. So, it's crazy.
It's cool.
Our bodies are amazing, man.
But it's crazy how you can do that, and then there was after the marathon, I let myself heal a little bit. And then I started running again. And 1 week I ran 50 miles in a week, which is a lot of miles. I ran like 10 miles at a time, pretty much 5 days a week. And it was so easy to get up and go run 10 miles. I was just like, let's go do it. And then COVID kind of hit, and I don't know what happened. Motivation just went. And I was busy. Me at home. I was busy at home, and like we were busy with the bakery and stuff. And I still had time to do it. Not like I didn't have time. Maybe not run 10 a day, but I still had time to do it. But I just didn't. And literally, I ran like 50 miles in a week, and then I didn't run. Forever.
I've got a full home gym at the house, right? And so, but I'm way out of shape. I pretty much. I don't know if it's like some subliminal act in solidarity, right? But I didn't work out the entire time in COVID. It's like, why?
Most people have more time now.
I could have come out of this so much better.
Yeah. Which I just I worked out the Y. I used to work out of the Y a lot, and I'm back in the Y now because they started childcare again. They didn't have childcare for the longest time. Yeah. Or then they did have childcare, but they didn't take kids that weren't potty trained or something. So my youngest.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah, I was like, what's the difference?
For COVID? Yeah.
I don't know. But
sounds like they're just taking advantage of that opportunity to not have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. So they finally started, maybe a month ago or something like that. So I'm like 3-4 weeks into like actually back in the gym working out and doing stuff. So
yeah.
and I went through a little bit of depression there too. Like it's over the summer, and like, you know, maybe I had some heart to hearts where I'm like, man, like what am I doing? You know, especially being out of work and stuff, being out of work and getting fat and like all that, you know, and kind of feeling like you just you know, dealing with the kids all day, like all that stuff, like it wears on you. And then finally I found some motivation and getting physical workout in, it like completely changes everything. So that's why like the whole lockdown, shutting down gyms and stuff like that, that's real, man. Like if that's not available to people, like people.
Well, I think we're meant to, you know, going back to like in endorphins and dopamine and whatnot, we're created, I believe that we're created to work. Like, I don't think that retirement is a thing for me. I don't think I'm going to retire because
so many people fall apart when they
exactly. Like you lose your purpose, and we're animals of purpose. Like we have to have intention and purpose, and to take that away, I think it takes away the primal essence of who we are, and I think that affects us. You know?
Yeah, for sure. You see it all the time. Like, so we go back to ATC and like air and military, being in air traffic control and military. So you have military, which after you retire in the military, like life expectancy, like there's all these studies on that. Like a lot of people die, like they only do 20 years and they might be 40 when they retire, but they don't last much longer after that unless they find that purpose.
Yeah.
And then you throw air traffic control on top of that, which is like a double whammy when it comes to purpose. And because a lot of people take pride in air traffic control, and they're like,
again, it's a tribe. Like it's part of your identity.
So you combine the military and air traffic control together. A lot of people don't make it after that for too long, even though they're only 45 years old when they get out of the military or something.
When I got out of aircraft maintenance and I went to work as a bank manager, I had more responsibility than I'd ever had, right? But it felt empty because I wasn't doing air traffic control. And I went through a similar bout of depression, and so then I just started like, man, I got to find something. Because of course I was waiting on the FA as well. But it was just kind of depressing because I didn't, you know, I could walk around and like it was really cool to protect like $150,000 in cash, but like at the end of the day, like I don't have the impact that I feel like I needed to have that you get with air traffic control, you know?
Sure. So I did a similar thing when I was in Vegas. I got out in the Air Force in October of 15, and I was waiting I had a temporary offer letter, and I was waiting, and Bianca had a really good job in Vegas, and we had 2 kids at the time. And I was stay-at-home dad for like 9 months. Like she was working, I was just at home waiting on the FAA.
I have no doubt that was a crushing time for
me. It was. I mean, I think I was good at it. Like I managed it well. But for sure, man, like at some point you're like, man, I need to do something. Like I need to provide. Like I need to.
That's exactly like there's. I don't think it's a gender thing. I really don't. I think it's
Bianca would feel the same way if she stay-at-home moms feel the same way.
100%.
Even though they're
100%.
Like
they've got the most important job in the world.
More work than me at air traffic control at any facility.
And you're raising a human being.
It's
like there's but it's complex. It's all these things. You're introducing them into culture and society. Like it's a very difficult job, but it's not. I don't think it's a thankless job.
Another one of those,
like a flight commander, like an AOF. It's a thankless job. When Academy graduates would come and tour the tower, and I said, I would usually say something like, "Why are y'all here?" Like, "Oh, we just want to be introduced, to the job." And I was like,
"Why are you here?
do not waste your Academy education on being an AOF. You're like, you support nobody, and everybody doesn't like you, Like you can please nobody.
You do whatever your boss tells you to do.
Exactly.
And it trickles down to us.
But you're supposed to be a representative of the flight, but you really can't represent it. You know what I mean? Like it's a thankless job. Like do not do that. Run as far as you can from doing this job. My chief control is like, you can't do that. So I'm not gonna lie to him. Nobody should do this job.
That's true. Yeah. So going to stay-at-home moms and stuff, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm getting another taste of it now, even though we're together most of the at home, but still.
when and if things go back to normal, now her current workload is going to double, and yours is going to be reduced.
So,
again.
Sure.
So,
and like I said, with me being home, we're able to say yes to a lot more orders and all that stuff, and promote a little bit more. But yeah, once things, if they do or when they do go back to
you're going to run into a scale problem, it sounds like, because right now you guys are able to scale the operation, but you're going to run into a bottleneck because the production is going to be reduced to one person.
And that's the idea of going to brick and mortar and
hiring
somebody, and the idea of getting away, because we're doing it. It's called a cottage bakery, so you're doing it at your own house.
Yeah, and there's limitations on that as well. Legally,
commercial kitchen. Yeah. There's a lot of rules, and the idea of getting away from the house, away from the kids, to do work as opposed to working while being with it's hard. That's really hard.
Let me tell you, I know somebody in Florida. They're in Navarre, Florida. This old man and his wife, they used to be our neighbors. She used to own a bakery. And the startup cost from a bakery is expensive, but she has all of the commercial equipment in storage. If that's something interesting, if y'all decide to do that, let me know. We'll take a drive. We'll, I don't know if you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That would.
I'll bet you there's $15,000-$20,000 worth of equipment that she has in her storage unit.
Yeah,
so
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
because our oven's not going to make it much longer. We just built this house Thanksgiving will be 2 years. Next week is 2 years that we've been in this house. That's the brand new oven. We got it, man. When she has crazy days where that oven's going for 12 hours, 16 hours straight.
Yeah.
Cakes take longer and longer to cook as the day goes on because it's running out of steam.
Interesting.
Sure. That happens.
Yeah.
But it works fine. It works great. And everything's good with it. But I can't imagine it. We can't do it that much longer.
Yeah. I'd like to know. I'd almost like to go look up what kind of power the commercial machines use, because they might work off of 3-phase power to where it actually uses much less electricity but produces more power. There's that power trade-off, because your oven's a 240 volt oven, but it's single phase, and you can add a 3-phase in there, and you might get less electricity because you're also having a power drain on your house that you're paying for as well. It might be cheaper to run multiple equipment in a commercial setting.
So
interesting enough.
And then the idea to not be considered a cottage bakery, you just need to have what's called a commercial kitchen, which could be anything. It could be a trailer in your backyard.
Fair enough.
Food truck.
Yeah, food truck
in your yard. That's your commercial kitchen. And now things open up advertising on social media and just a lot more things that you can't do as a cottage baker, listing prices and all that kind of stuff. You're not supposed to do that as a cottage baker.
Interesting.
There's just a lot of random rules like that.
Yeah. Well, what's good for y'all is y'all have, Bianca's got a pretty good network. You've got a good network out here. So that initial launch is probably, you guys are going to do better than, say, there's a guy who opened a hoagie and CBD shop. So I walked in there on happenstance. I was like, I'm going to go check this guy out. And I talked to him. I'm trying to get him on the podcast because he's got a great story. But yeah, for him, he's running into kind of the initial exposure phase, which is where most restaurants, they can die in that phase. There's no secret that restaurants have a hard time starting up and making it through the first year, in fact.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, but you guys at least have that on your side.
No, because she turns down a lot of business because it's just impossible. So I know once that happens and more advertising and all that stuff, I don't think she can triple her business.
Yeah, for sure.
I know it could happen. And
probably more than that.
Probably more than that.
Because a commercial kitchen gives you the opportunity to scale as well.
For sure. And with help, and then all that. I mean, I think it'd be great, and it would cover the overhead, because that's our concern, is having the overhead. We don't have that right now.
Yeah,
it's our normal bills for the most part at our house, so we don't have that overhead. So it's nice to not have that.
Well, you're gonna. you're already probably running into an issue that there's no more money you can make, because you might be at the point of, especially with that oven, you're at the point of diminishing marginal return. So, which is essentially the idea of a bottleneck
and work-life balance.
Yeah,
general,
which is a factor.
Which
sure.
Which is probably the biggest factor.
Yeah.
Not that we don't need the money. It's just like at some point, like the money doesn't matter as much as well-being for sure.
For sure. You know? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So,
real quick, you have a restroom?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sure.
No,
sure. Yeah.
I drink a lot of water.
Yeah. If you don't mind, could we talk about, or are you willing to talk about kind of what you went through with cancer?
Yeah,
and what kind of cancer? And
so what was it? It was July 4th, 2019. Yeah. And we were in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Well, St. Pete, really. We were at Tampa Bay Rays and Yankees game. And we were on our way to the game, driving from Orlando, because we went into a little Disney first, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I had crazy pain right in my lower abdomen. It was kind of swollen, kind of it was really tender. I was getting kind of the chills, a little fever. Like, I was like, man, what is going on? And
okay.
I thought for sure it was appendicitis. It was like all the symptoms. Like, it was. Anyway, we go to the game. I was like, I'm just going to give a chance to pass, whatever. We go to the game. We're in like the second or third inning, and it got unbearable. I was holding one of my kids, and their like foot like grazed my lower abdomen, like barely, like through my clothes, like, and it was excruciating pain. And I was like, oh shoot. And I was like, my appendix is about to burst. We need to, like, whatever. So Bianca was like, do you need to go to the hospital? And I was like putting it off, because I was like, we're at a Yankee game. Like, I want to stay. Like, we've been to a lot of Yankee games as a family, and like, we stay. We get there like 2 hours early, and we stay till the game's over, like all the time. Mm-hmm. My kids are really good about it. Bianca's really good about it. It's awesome. Whatever. Anyway, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go to the hospital. And finally she convinced me to go. And we go from St. Pete up to Tampa, near our hotel, Tampa General, I think. Mm-hmm. And they do a scan, or they feel around. They don't feel anything, so they do a CT. And there was absolutely nothing on my lower abdomen that showed up. No swollen lymph nodes, no appendix isn't enlarged, nothing, whatever, inflamed. And they were like, and at this point, it's 4th of July, it's in the night, and there's fireworks going on right outside. So Bianca and the kids are like outside watching fireworks, because we have all the kids with us. And the emergency room nurse came in, and she's like, I'll be right back with the doctor. And then the doctor came in, and they pull up the scans on the computer, and they were like, there's nothing here, but do you see these two things here? They were like, those are large masses, and they're attached to your kidneys. And we're like, what? And I've had no symptom up to that point, no symptoms whatsoever. No pain in my kidneys, nothing pushing on anything that I felt. I've had blood work done multiple times through primary care guys and whatever. And so nothing ever came back abnormal. Nothing ever showed up. And they were like, we don't know what it is. It's Thursday, 4th of July. We plan on coming back home here on Saturday. We're going to do Universal, I think, on Friday. Mm-hmm. Not Universal, Busch Gardens.
Busch Gardens, okay.
That's over there. We're going to do Busch Gardens on Friday, and they were like, we can admit you tonight and possibly do a biopsy tomorrow. I can't guarantee it, because it's like a holiday. We don't know who's going to be here, blah, blah, blah. Once you get into the weekend, like, you may as well go home at that point.
Sure.
And, start figuring out what it is at home. Anyway, I opted to just be like, hey, well, you can't do anything about it now. That pain in the front kind of started subsiding. We were there long enough, and I was like, all right, that's kind of going away now. And that never came back. So I only went to the hospital because of that, and then they found it. So it was just complete luck that they found it. Otherwise, I'd probably still have them in me right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, we still went to Busch Gardens on Friday. Drove back home on Saturday. Contacted Tampa Bay Rays, Bianca did, and explained what happened. and they gave us tickets for Friday night's game. We went to the game. We went to another Yankee game Friday night.
That's pretty rad.
Crazy. Thursday night, they went to extra innings, 10 or 11 innings.
Okay.
Both of them were, 10 or 11 innings, and the Yankees won.
Okay.
And I was pissed because I was at the hospital. I missed this game. Like, it was an awesome game. The very next night, Friday night, the same thing happened. They went 10 or 11 innings. I don't know which one was which, and the Yankees won. I was like, perfect.
Yeah, you got to repeat.
It was a perfect repeat. So Saturday, we get up, we go home. They gave me a copy of my scans or whatever to bring back, and their suggestion was go to emergency room when you get back home. I was going to go Ocean Springs Hospital and say, these are my scans. What do we need to do from here?
Sure.
I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
I got a neighbor who's a radiation oncologist 2 doors down, and I texted him. I said, hey, man, I got some of these scans. You want to take a look at them, just see what they are, and if you have any suggestions on where I should go, what I should do. And he looked at them, and he was like, those are pretty, they were large. One of them was like the size of my fist on my right.
Wow.
Yeah,
and so they were connected to your kidneys?
Just my kidneys. Nowhere else. Both kidneys. I was 33, 34.
In the tubes or something, or what? Or because
outside my kidneys.
No kidding.
Maybe inside. I don't remember, but
yeah.
Yeah, so he looked at the scans, and he's like, yeah, you need to go get it looked at. And he hooked me up with a urology oncologist out of Tulane. Got me an appointment Monday. I was like, what?
Sweet hookup, bro.
Yeah. Good guy. I mean, it was awesome, man. That was a huge deal. And this doctor that he got me with was a pioneer in the robotic surgery stuff. So this is the guy that I want to go to.
Yeah.
And Monday, actually, I couldn't go Monday. I guess I had work, and I think I did. I don't remember. But I couldn't go Monday, so I set it up for Wednesday. I went Wednesday. The scans were not good because they weren't looking at my kidneys on those original scans. They were looking in the front, so they weren't as detailed as he wanted. So he had me do new scans. He goes, because I think you have others. He's like, I can't really tell. There's abnormalities for sure. But so I ended up having 7 tumors, 4 and 3 or something like that on each side. And he said, he was just looking at them, he was pretty certain that they were cancer. He's like, but the one that was really big, he's like, I'm taking that out anyway. He's like, we got to go get it. There's no point in doing a biopsy. I was like, we're not doing a biopsy because biopsies sometimes aren't 100% accurate. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just going to go take it out, and then we'll figure out what it is. So since they're on both kidneys, we knew we had to do 2 surgeries. Because you can't do them both at the same time because they had to cut off blood supply to the kidneys to do it. And they can't do that at the same time. Otherwise, you lose chance of losing both kidneys, whatever. So they go in. So July 4th, find out. Thursday. Wednesday, I go in. And then by the next week, I had new scans. July 29th was my first surgery. Super fast. It was bang, bang. It was 25 days from finding it to my first surgery, which is probably a credit to my neighbor, all that stuff happening. It was crazy.
So this whole time that you're waiting, the 25 days, there's no body reaction that you're having, you can't feel anything.
Nothing. They ran blood, because he requested his own blood work and everything like that, and nothing came back up.
Not to get too personal, but there was no urination problems, nothing like that.
Nope.
I mean, okay.
Nope, I never had any.
What was your intake of fluids? Do you drink mostly water? Were you... I guess normally, because again the cancer cells are gonna develop over time. So
I'm the pickiest eater you'll ever meet, right?
Okay.
When it comes to food, drinks, whatever. I didn't start drinking water in my life until I was probably 23, 24.
My wife as well, yeah.
So I literally did not drink water. I played baseball my whole life in hot summers, and if there was only water to drink, I didn't drink. It was bad. It was probably really bad for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then finally, when I was 23, 24, actually, when I was at Nellis, that's when I started drinking water.
That's wise.
Yeah, I was in Vegas. I guess I started drinking water.
Yeah.
And then I started liking, like, I really enjoyed it, and I drink a lot of water all the time now. But, yeah, so it's funny you say that. Like, I don't know. Like, and and nobody can tell me how long they've been there, those tumors. So they could have been there from when I was a kid and when I was only drinking sweet tea and soda. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, so I had my first surgery July 29th. They check it out, and it is cancer. And he said there's 89% chance that the other side is the same exact thing.
He said what percentage?
80 to 90%.
80. I thought you said 89%. Like he can get that specific. Like that's really
sounded like I'm mumbling. But yeah, he said it's very likely that it's the same on the other. Because I was like, what are the chances the other side isn't cancer? Or that is like, I don't know, I'm just asking any questions.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, don't know what's going on. But
so what are you thinking at this point? Like, is it?
I don't know, man.
Like, was it hard to process?
No, me and Bianca talk about it all the time. We never thought about the worst case scenario. I don't know. It never happened. He was kind of reassuring. He's like, because when before my first surgery, he's like, he looked at her and he was like, we're going to get these out and he's going to live a long time. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, don't worry about it. So from that point, not that I was like, I don't know, like overconfident and like, it doesn't matter. I never thought about it like that. I never felt bad for myself. I never did anything like, no.
I wonder if that's part of that's by design, by him saying we're not going to do the biopsy, because if you do the biopsy, then maybe more, and God forbid it was a malignant tumor, and so then he has to somehow package up, well, it's a bad tumor, and now you have to start processing worst case scenario, because there's a 50-50 chance that it's benign versus malignant. So it to the doctor's credit, he might be thinking, well, I know I'm going to have to get it out. So to do this, although it's trivial, they don't have to know if it's benign or malignant. So there's no worry associated.
Good. Yeah. It was we were still holding on to, there's a good chance it could be benign.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with that until we find out that it is. I'm not going to freak out about cancer until I know it's cancer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that's fine. And then, so we did the surgery, then it took like a week to find out what it was. It was called chromophobe renal cell carcinoma. So it's a renal cell, but it's a rare form, being chromophobe. Only 5% of kidney cancers are this type of cancer. Super rare. Weird that they could not figure out why a 34-year-old had these tumors on both kidneys, like just the kidneys, not like anywhere else in between. And just a really weird growth. They did some genetic testing. Turned out I have tuberous sclerosis, which is a genetic disorder that causes masses to grow throughout your body.
So you're prone to like these tumors? Just tumors in general?
So growths in general.
And by the way, this is HIPAA stuff, so you can stop at any point. We don't have to talk about any of this, honestly. Dude. Okay.
I'll tell anybody this story because
Gotcha.
I feel like maybe somebody else will go through it. I don't know. But so, and as you would think that it would relate to my cancer, but my doctor feels like the tuberous sclerosis has nothing to do with those tumors that I had.
Did he provide a rationale for that? Or?
Yeah, because usually it's different. I don't know. And usually there'll be other places, a lot in your chest. It could be in your brain. So, and there's different levels. There's of tuberous sclerosis. So like if kids have them, they have a lot of cognitive issues, like usually in the brain, and it's very apparent with seizures and all that, like when they're young.
Yeah.
And I never really had, so I had a very considered a mild form of tuberous sclerosis, which I don't know, I'm probably talking out my ass and like I know about it, but I could be wrong. But he was convinced that it didn't have to do with that. He was a well-known doctor, but he reached out to, his buddies in New York and LA and like, bigger facilities. And we're like,
specialists probably have small networks too.
Yeah. And what is going on here? Like, why is this young guy having this? And, anyway, so then that was July 29th was my first surgery, and I had to wait a month for my second surgery to make sure the kidney function was good. Did blood work and make sure I was healing up, and then they go into the other one on September 3rd or 4th, and did the other one. And trying to think, so I have like a bunch of scars that come down here, one big one in the middle where they pull out the larger tumors.
They going from the front to your kidneys? I thought the kidneys were kind of in the back.
Dude, it's a crazy surgery. So, yes.
They got to move.
Well, it also depends on where the tumors were located too. It's not just like, so it was easier to get to the tumors from here than it was, because I guess they weren't on the outside of my kidneys, like on this side.
Okay.
They were inside.
Oh, I see.
So what they do is, you're upside down for the whole surgery. I'm like this. I'm inverted on you're upside down. So all your organs get out of the way. Gravity. They pump you with gas.
Get out of here.
They pump you with gas to keep it all down and out of the way. And it's right there. That's in the robot. It's very small incisions. So on the second surgery,
that's insane.
On the second surgery, he had said, I'm gonna go back in, and I might have to come in through the side based on the location of some of them that I've seen on the scans. He's like, I don't know yet until I get in there. So he said recovery on the second surgery might be harder because you'll have it on the front and the back and just ripping through abs and then side muscles.
Yeah.
But and then I woke up and he didn't have to. Which I woke up and I saw nothing on this side, and I was like, okay, good, because that means I know what to expect for the recovery on based on the first time. But yeah, it was nuts. It was pretty crazy, man.
That's how you sum it up.
I mean, July 4th to September 4th. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was working that in my mind. Like this. Okay, so we're 2 months down. Where you went through this period of like, okay, I've got cancer, and again, to your credit, you've got the mindset where like you didn't kind of dive deep into some sort of what if thing in a bad way. So I mean, man, that is pretty incredible.
It was insane. For 2 months to have those kind of surgeries and the chromophobe aspect of the carcinoma, it was like it was 90% I don't know how they word it. It's 90% over 10 years of not returning.
Okay.
With just surgery. So that's why like no chemo or radiation they don't do that for that type of cancer. Good. So basically they cut it out. They take a little bit of kidney with it. It's called a partial nephrectomy. So I had 2 partial nephrectomies. So I have both my kidneys still full function.
Does that piece they cut out, does that recover?
Not that recovers, but I guess your kidneys
repair it.
They learn to function at full capacity. You can take half the kidney, and as long as once the kidney heals, it does the same thing a full kidney would do.
That's interesting. I've heard if you have a lung removed too, the other lung will expand to fill the cavity.
Really? That much too?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. So I have full kidney function now. I'm fine. Initially I was getting scans like every 3 months after the second surgery. And I had my last ones in June. And now I'm doing annual, so nothing. Everything's been good.
July you have the pain. August you have your first surgery. September you have your second surgery. September you decide you're going to do this marathon.
September 4th, and then September
25th.
It was 20 days.
Okay.
I said 3 weeks. It was. I remember it was a Monday. It was exactly 20 days, and I ran 2 miles, like 5 a.m, and it took me like 25 minutes to run 2 miles. It was rough.
And then
it hurt.
By February,
I ran a marathon.
You ran a marathon.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I never told my doctor. So like I shouldn't have been doing that probably 20 days after second surgery, and I was just doing it and whatever.
So you said on the as we were talking about doing this, right? And again, everybody has this feeling of being nervous. Probably more so now because there's video. But you said most people say the same thing. I don't know if I have anything interesting to talk about. Man, that's crazy interesting to to hear. I mean, it may seem like nothing for you because you live it, but you went from a small pain, you being reluctant to go to the hospital, the pain subsided, you still go and check it out, and it turns out you have cancer, and you take it so well, and then you even grow from it.
Yeah.
Like what makes you think you would have ever ran a marathon had you not experienced?
I don't know if I would have ever done that. I don't know if I would ever I think when stuff like that happens, as much as I was not playing a what if game and doing like we talked about, it still makes you be like, man, what am I doing with my life? Like, what am I doing? Not that running a marathon. I mean, it is kind of life changing, I guess, but it's not like I don't know. It's not crazy. A lot of people run marathons. Like, it's not insane. Man,
at some point you've got to learn to give yourself some more credit here.
I was like, man,
I appreciate what you're saying, but like you got to suck it up and say that like you've accomplished something special here.
And I mean, with Bianca, like the support there and all that, like
I remember seeing. I think the entire Elks Club got involved in something,
Elks
right?
Club did, and then I'm part of Neptune, Mardi Gras crew, and they did a benefit too to help with a lot of medical bills and stuff, which was awesome, which was crazy because so the year before, not even a year before, we were in Florida, like, right? So when I come here and I joined Neptune, when I first came here, I knew a few guys and got to know everybody better, whatever, over the year. And then this happens, and then they just did that for me. And it was cool to be, it definitely validated us moving back and being like, the sense of community and all that stuff. Like, that was cool.
Yeah. Sure. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
It was crazy.
Yeah. You got to give yourself some more credit there.
I don't know.
So what's new for you, man? Like what does the next year look like for you?
Nobody knows. Right?
Nobody knows, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
It sounds like you're going to keep prospecting the idea of having a brick and mortar bakery, maybe.
I really think that would do well. And also with our 2-year-old being 2, it's kind of hard. Like, do we wait until he's a little older, maybe at least in pre-K 4 or something? I don't know, to make it a little more manageable. But, I don't know.
One day at a time, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's something poetic about that anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad I'm actually just starting to like work out and like feel a little bit more like myself in that aspect. But, we got we're going to Disney and right before Christmas for like 5 days, but
I've heard it's a great time to go because like there's not a lot of people there.
Super excited.
There's no international travel.
I think it's going to be great. We've heard nothing but good things from family and friends that have gone. When we were in Jacksonville, we had annual passes, and
it's worth it. Yeah, that's worth it right there. I mean, you're what, 2.5, 3 hours away?
I lived in St. John, so that was
okay. Yes, you're south.
I'm 45 minutes south, 30 to 45 minutes from Jacksonville anyway, south. So I was that much closer to Disney. So
I bought a GoPro off a guy in St. John's.
But so I mean, we would wake up on Sunday mornings, and be like, let's go to Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, because we were that close, so kids kind of got spoiled and took take that for granted, and we're like. Oh, we're, like literally, I remember Roman. Like he'd be like, "We're going to Disney again." Like, like a little spoiled with that. But no. So we like to try to go like once a year, ish.
There you go. Yeah, I respect it.
So we're doing that. We got baseball tournaments all the time. So we're doing,
Well, that's cool, man. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate you, doing the inaugural kind of with video
episode.
Try not
to look over there, just forget about it.
Yeah, well, you see, like I'm not really looking. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just, you know, like Foad said, it's just come on here, be yourself. We're just gonna have a conversation. I was telling Mary I need to just create like a pamphlet because everybody asked I'm telling you the exact same things. Like, oh man, I don't know what we talk about, or they'd ask me what I want to talk about, and most time I say you. And that's exactly what it is. It's just we're just having a conversation. That's it.
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
people,
I was thinking more of like a list of things, and like I'm like, but no.
Yeah,
it's better this way anyway. But,
for sure. So, and again, we could you know, come back and have another conversation and do another. What probably been here like 2 hours, so 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's been
so
good. Went quick.
Yeah. Well, shit, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, everybody. Oh, I usually do this at the end of my shows. Do you want to give out any sort of social media, how people can maybe, if they want to get in contact with you, or say Bianca's bakery?
I'm not. I mean, I'm.
I guess this is the plug time. So
yeah. I'm on obviously Facebook and Instagram and stuff, but I'm not. I'm not like a.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm not a content creator at all. If anything, I'm posting something about my kids or sharing my wife's bakery. That's about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, Mother Goose Bakery. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram. She's got not even close to all, but a lot of her things that she's done, and you could check it out. There's nothing bad on there. I can tell you that. She's amazing. But yeah, that's it for really just Mother Goose Bakery. Would be cool.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right, man. All right. Thanks again. Appreciate it. See you, everybody.